Hello and welcome to Operation Loremaster, Zone Achievement Completion Guide for Winterspring. This will be the first zone I'll be doing for my new videos for Operation Loremaster. Sadly, I finished the zone before I really got going on these videos, so I won't have video footage of me doing any of the specific quests, but I'll still have video of me going around the zone and showing you important places. For those of you new to this material, the basic gist of the challenge is that I go around doing every zone in order, to full achievement completion, plus any extra quests that I feel are generally important to the story. So, for example, I did all the 1 to 10 zones, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, and so on, completing them in order. Afterwards, I give the readers previously, and now the listeners, my perspective on how the zone has changed for the better or worse since Cataclysm, showing you interesting lore areas, cool loot, and items that look nice for Transmorph. I also have the goal to not die during these runs, but sadly I've already died twice, so this is not an Iron Man run. If you're interested in older zones that I've already done before these videos, which is most of vanilla Loremaster content, then you can check them out at the website listed in my info. On to Winterspring. I started Winterspring at level 60 and finished the zone at level 61. The zone's suggested levels are 50 to 55. The zone achievement requires you to complete 58 quests, but I ended up doing 62 total to see the zone's storyline to its completion. Winterspring is located north of Mount Highjaw. At one time it had been the last stop on the way up the mountain for the Night Elves. After the Sundering, Winterspring became a welcome home to the Night Elves as they tried to rebuild their society. For a short period of time during the Third War, Winterspring knew a rare thawing, as one of the starting points as both Horde and the Alliance raced up Mount Highjaw to stop the forces of the Burning Legion. After the Battle of Mount Highjaw, the landscape of Winterspring was twisted, making it no longer the path by which the Night Elves could reach the mountain. Since the end of the Third War, some Night Elves have remained behind in Winterspring, but the one city of note is Everlook, which is maintained by the Steamwhittle Cartel. Alliance players can find a friendly NPC faction in the northern area of the zone called Frost Saber Rock, where they can eventually earn a Frost Saber to ride. Noteworthy lore areas. Lake Kethril. The frozen lake is home to the ruins of Kethril, and is populated by the tormented spirits of the Highborn. Like most of the Highborn left behind by Queen Azara, these Highborn seem twisted by their actions before the Sundering, and are hostile to all players. Bontalo Barrow Den. One of the many abandoned druid dens around Kalimdor. This den was likely empty when Malfurion and his druids awoke at the beginning of the Third War. The only one of these dens I've still found occupied was in Mount Highjaw itself, and it was mainly used by the Wardens to hold Staghelm. These dens will stand empty until a time of peace when the druids can once again slumber in the Emerald Dream, with no worry for Azeroth's fate. Mas Thoril. During most of World of Warcraft, this was the site of a Blue Dragon den, as they kept an eye on the Black Flight. Outside of Azara, Mas Thoril is one of the few locations that players can encounter the Brood of Malygos outside of Northrend. After the Cataclysm, the cave is now occupied by Ambranzi, the Spirit Seeker, who had once been a Horde NPC, but now seems to be concerned with the crystals of Zin Malor, which Alliance players might remember as a trinket that slowly killed you because you were not worthy. Cool rewards. Dagger of Suffering. Reward for the quest Pride of the Highborn. This dagger has a nice deep red look to it, and shares its model with only 2 other daggers in the game, both of which are epic, which means it's a harder to find model and would look nice dual weld by any rogue. Mechanical Yeti. Reward for Yeti Phobia. This item is one of the few combat pets you can get in the game. Sadly, he only has 3 charges, and once they are up, you lose the Yeti forever. I remember this quest clearly from the days of vanilla, because Umi the Goblin sent you on a rather globe-trotting adventure, purely to scare his friends in far-off places like Ungoro and Booty Bay. Sadly now, he just has you scare another goblin in Everlook. I understand the intent to streamline the time this quest took, but I really did enjoy the prospect of actually going around and trolling other goblins for XP and cool rewards at the end. The Yeti is still awesome, and tends to pull mobs like an undisciplined tank, but you'll probably still enjoy him anyway. The Winterspring Cup. This is not a quest reward, but rather a non-combat pet that you can buy from an NPC in Everlook named Michelle Durham. She was added to the game in patch 4.1 and sells the pet for a mere 45 gold. I actually found several of these cubs on the auction house for nearly double the price you get them from the NPC, so they may not be a bad investment for gold earning. This is a fun quest line of about 9 quests, where 3 NPCs boast about the superiority of different weapon types such as axes and swords and whatnot. Each NPC has you gather several items that he can cut to prove his weapon superiority. It's not a lot of work, but it's fun when I do these quests because they show a little more character for the NPCs, and shows that there can be prideful boasting between them. The Arcane Storm. This quest shows the ills of arcane magic gone wrong. You have to go in and kill Umber's East Dreamcatcher, and close the portals he has opened to various sundry places in the Nether. Echo 3. Remember the scene in Empire Strikes Back, when the Wampa traps Luke in the ice cave and mauls his face to cover the fact that Mark Hamill had been in an accident between the filming of A New Hope and Empire. Okay, you may not remember it in that much detail, but this quest is a homage to that scene. The player finds themselves hung upside down in ice, just like that scene, and you get to cut yourself free and then kill yourself a giant Yeti. I generally enjoy when the quests in the game have this kind of little nostalgia feel to it, remind you of something else you enjoy in the real world. General thoughts. I always liked the look of Winterspring during Vanilla WoW. I thought next to Azara, which was generally deserted, is one of the better looking zones in the game. You can always take long hot dips in the warm springs here to relax. The zone was rather sparse during Vanilla, I do remember that, and I never quite understood why several members of the Argent Dawn hung out here in Everlook, half a world away from the Scourge. But since the demons had tried to destroy Mount Highjaw, and the Dawn has also sworn to protect Azeroth from the Legion, I could understand somewhat why these few were here. After the Cataclysm, they no longer seem to be located in the same area. I have never bothered to do the grind to get the Frost Saber, but I have done the week-long Horde line equivalent to get the Special Raptor, and the grind with the Frost Saber faction is supposedly worse. If it takes longer than a week, I think the developers should do something to put it along the same lines as the Raptor they gave the Horde to equal out the mount count. I didn't find the redesign of the zone's quest system to be phenomenally updated, and some of the quests are nearly identical to the same they had been in Vanilla. But the zone definitely does have a better flow to it than it did during the time of Vanilla. You get led fairly easily from one section of the zone to the next, and should have no problem finding enough quests to earn the achievement. The zone used to have a lot more focus on the Furbolgs and the Alkins in the area, which I thought was a nice touch at the time. The zone doesn't seem to have a story that revolves around those creatures anymore, which I kind of miss. Overall, Winterspring is not one of the zones that suffered the worst after the Cataclysm redesign, but it's also not the greatest improved. If I remember correctly, Winterspring was one of the last zones on the chopping block when it came to redesign, and I can understand why. Zones like this in Sithless rarely see players, since most head right to the Outlands at level 58. Taking all of that into consideration, I would give Winterspring 3 out of 5 stars. If you're looking for links to the items or quests I mentioned in this video, they'll be included in the comment section. The next completion video will be about Swamp of Sorrows. I hope you enjoyed this video and look forward to more.